Alright, lesson 2, learning the viewing option. For this lesson, you will create the model radio with the locating viewing information for the command when they identify elements of MGED viewing system of the view of the radio with a different angle they move with the work with the shift grips. Model for the okay with the check with the signal for the XYZ coordinate system, which sometimes refer to the model space for the graphic. Remember the MGD for the display for the portion of the display for the XYZ coordinates for the view for the specific both for the geometry for the view for the geometry, the display for the name of the graphic window. MGD offers the default view with a variety of the optional views. You can also look back and forth between these views during and after the module creation. This lesson is designed to help you understand the varying viewing process options. Creating a radio. To gain practice with viewing actual geometry, let's build with a simple geometric object for the walkie-talkie. We know the commands you want to use to discover here. Because of the concern playing with the principle of the viewing later on in the lesson, creating a geometry adjective for the command in detail by beginning launching the MGD with the new database radio G. Remember, remember that one way to do this is the type of the following command terminal window with the MGED radio, the G, following with the command window with the carefully check for the each for the before for the enter for the be pressing of the if you make the mistake with the backspace for the left or the right arrow with the key for the make the correction press before enter for the appendix B with the editing the command list. Alright, be especially careful of the know the difference between the number 1 and the letter L or so you'd have number ELL1 on the third line. And it goes by shape, and then note that the preceding command line extension BTN is an abbreviation of button and is an abbreviation of the antenna. Speaker is an abbreviation of speaker. SPKR is an abbreviation spoken over the number that can have been signified with a single space with the extra space with the insert that simply with the improve the readability. For some of you, the R and the comb commands where you would discuss later with the name of the space with the has been exact. The images of the following should be now appear with the graphic window. The default view of the radio. Locating the view information for the command window. Now take a moment of the command window. Everything there's nothing in the window, but it can close the bottom of the border. String information for the graphic window. An example the string method might read: center 8/16/24, size is 96 millimeter. AZ and EL as zenith 35, EL 25. T20 angle and 00090. Alright, as detailed with the following information contained with the foregroup of the viewing data about the graphic rim below. CE enter with the center view with the first numbers located for the variables, first 3 numbers, millimeters, 0, 0, 0, 0, the thousands place 0, default value, 3 different videos. SC size of the view, fourth number, millimeters dependent upon the size. Located AZ and EL stand for the viewing angle, 5th and 6th number of the degree, 35 and 25. Twisting and angle view, TW and angle view, twist and angle view, 7th and 10th number of degrees also, in hundreds, 4 different hundreds marking. In defining the elements of the MGD viewing system, the center of the view for the first set of the information tells you what you are viewing, each chamber the center of what you're looking for the GUI command window. Chamber the center of the view with the radio with the GUI. Press the shift key with the aim mouth of the button with the dragging the mouth. For the example, the shift the group, the describe later in the chapter. Make a chamber the center of the view by the play for the mouse pointer that you want into the center of the clicking the middle of the mouse button. The chamber the center of the reviewing of the command window. Type of the prompt of the word center followed by the 3 values X, Y, Z. Which are the 3D coordinate system mentioned previously. For example, center 0, 15, 35, 325, 735. Enter. You can change the view of the geometry. Note that the number of the brackets are the center equals the title will change to reflect the new center view. Size of the view. For size of the view, the amount of the model space with the shown with the graphic window. For example, consider the camera the zoom line with the photographic view of the shown with the following figure with the zoom within the row. It will appear with a large relation with the view with the be able to zoom out with appear with the smaller with the actual view with the side of the rose image left and represent with a 15 millimeter crop with the view size for the image of the right might present with a 10 millimeter crop with the bull's case. However, the actual side of the rose is the same. Zoom in details smalls in size details. Zoom out with the zoom and view relationship with the environment large size view. Alright, change the view side of the radio with the GUI. Click with the right mouse button with the zoom left mouse with the button. Zoom out with each time with the click left with the right with the mouse button with the view with the design. Will increase the degree with the side with the factor by 2 with the 2 larger for the 2 sizes times small with the previous side. But you can also view with the in and out with your design going with the view in with the select the view in view out with the back with the method. You can also obtain with the view in and out with the time with the drop of the down with the menu cloth with the one to make you make a selection. Or if you get it lost at any point with the critic of the module, you could use the Z or Zap command to clear the geometry for the geographic window with the recall of the shape of the draw. If you and then recall the shape of the with the draw command. When drawing the empty graphics window, the MGD automatically side of the view to fit the draw whether you fit what you draw in the window. To control the view of the side of the radio more accurately, the command view is to set size 100, which 100 to whichever units you have selected. Type of the prompt size 100 inches. You can do them in and out with the design with the zoom of the command line to make sure the radio appear with the 50% smaller you would type. The zoom 0.5 enter to make the radio appear with twice as large. You would type zoom 2 to enter. Remember the change. The key point. Remember, the changing view size does not affect the side of the object. You will change the side of the object unless the number is 6. Angle view. The azimuth elevation or twist is measured in degrees where the relation for the object with the viewer. Viewing azimuth determines whether you are around where you are around the sides of it, to the front, left, the right, behind, somewhere in the between. Elevation determines where you are above, below with the twist, and determine the angle of where you rotate with the viewing direction. Alright, to better understand the azimuth, edging and walking truck with the camera with the photograph of the shown with the following illustration of you within the 0 degree azimuth that you would sit directly in the front of the truck to take the picture. Certainly around the slightly to your right, you would be about 35 degrees azimuth. If the move further around, you would be looking directly over the driver's side of the truck. You would be at a 90 degree azimuth. Still, behind it, we would be about put 180 degrees azimuth, and you were facing the passenger side. You would be at a 270 azimuth. Terms azimuth, elevation, and twist are similar to the terms that use as yaw, pitch, and roll, respectively, whichever the common term of the aerospace industry. So for this front, azimuth 0 to elevation 0, 35 elevation 0. All the elevations are 0. You have to the 0, 35, 90, 180, 270, or whatever, respectively, you put in for your azimuth elevation. Azimuth elevation. The azimuth elevation, on the other hand, involves the view of the position above and below the object in the preceding object, with the encircled around the truck with the with the relative of the height with the elevation of the 0 mean with the view of level with the feeling figure with the illustrate how with the dimension stop with the 35 degrees azimuth position climbing a letter to photograph of the truck with the 25 degree elevation climbing higher. You would at least be 60 degree elevation directly above the camera facing down. You would be at 90 degree elevation crawled under the truck low directly up, and you would be at 90 degrees elevation. So this is azimuth 30, and then show the different elevations into these two respectively, the top and the bottom, or the sides. Both sides and top and bottom. The final twist which is optional step of the MGD specifies the rotation from the viewing direction. The rotation is applied with the view of the azimuth of the elevation of the design. Such return of the truck example the dimension staying with the front of the vehicle with the azimuth of the 0 elevation 0. Tilting your camera counterclockwise 114. You would give the view with a 114 twist angle is shown the following features on the left. No, and not again, but it's not a truck with a tip of the boat. Simply the view of the for more information. Specifically test the twist and see the A command with appendix A. Summing up the azimuth elevation of the XY coordinate system mentioned with the start of the mission, MGD operated with the three-dimensional coordinate system to determine the XY and Z axis of the azimuth measure for the XY plane with the power of the X direction concern. Explaining the azimuth 0 with the degree of the azimuth angle with the measure for the X axis for the tour of the path of the positive the Y axis. Negative azimuth angles measure in the other direction. Direction and so the twist, the azimuth to elevation, XY coordinate system. Azimuth angle to 0 within the elevation is measured for the XY plane at 90 degrees corresponding with the power of the Z direction, negative positive Z direction, negative corresponding to the negative side Z direction. However, the azimuth of the 0 angle of the plane align with the azimuth direction. Alright, viewing your radio at a different angle. With the left now expand with a different view of the radio with the MGD has several times with the default view with the audio with the proceeding with the truck example, including top azimuth 270 elevation 90, bottom azimuth 270 elevation 90, right azimuth 270 elevation 90, azimuth left 92 elevation 0, front elevation L00 elevation 10, rear azimuth 180 elevation 10. So you have just a view with the azimuth 35, elevation 125, azimuth 45, elevation 145. Go to the view main window, try reviewing your radio with the different angles, and show the top azimuth 35, elevation 35, right in front. You can also select the azimuth elevation combination command line. For the example, the prompt lines elevation 128, 17. This many with the command line opposition method, the selecting view for the providing with the find group of the control version that you need it. The MGD can also display with a multiple view for this simultaneous with the modes menu. For the click of the multi-plane with a small plane with different view that is appearing with the graphic window within shown in the following illustration. Multi-view playing with the radio. Work with the shift grips. Shift grip option, the MGD handheld handy hotkey with the mouse button with the combination that can be with a different way with the procedures discussion viewing with the shift group with the grips and the effect with the drag with the workaround with the view from the viewer without the actually change with the coordinate for the view object with the same shift grips can also be used limit edit mode with the actual move of the geometry of the viewer objects in both the case of the shift gears appear with the same thing and important always to know the mode with which you are operating. In general, the shift key with the translates move, the control key rotates, and alt key constrains the limits to translation rotation with a particular axis, and these axes correspond to three mouse buttons as follows: the left button with the representative of the x-axis, middle point with the representative of the y-axis, right button with the representative of the z-axis. The shift the control key that can be used with the conjunction with any position button scale with an object, and through the alt key with the constraint with the second action. The following table is all the key building of their key building and their function translation move shift any button mouse and drag move in the direction any direction affecting normal move in the very direction any then translate option in any direction control any remote views any button and any mouse button plus mouse drag rotates the view in any direction rotates the object in the direction constraint translation shift alt and left and middle and right move the X, Y, and Z directions. X, Y, translate X, Y, duration. Constraint rotation control alt left, right, middle, and right mouse button or rotate view X, Y, Z axis. Rotates object X, Y, Z axis. Scale shift control any mouse button mouse drag selects and view smaller and smaller object. Alright, depending on your window of the band of the desktop of the environment. Some with the key with the combination may help with the designated to perform the other to have the reset everything over the window. Moving the window, you sometimes need to adjust the settings allow with the shift the grip they obtain option function with further left hand view for the mouse have the switch of the behave with the left of the right mouse buttons. If there is system configuration in such instances, turn the left mouse button and right mouse button should be switching throughout the document. Probably the easiest way to familiarize yourself with the shift group option is to have them out over the radio. Use the seating table with the guide with the experiment, the translation, rotating core, and constraint with translation, rotation, particular accesses. Side of your radio. Remember all the shift group that obtain with the maybe appear manipulating objects on the left of the edit mode, but they are only manipulating your view of the objects. Review. In this lesson, you created a model radio located viewing information command window. Identified element of the MGD viewing system. Worked your radio with a different angle of the work through the shift grips. Lesson 3: using insert command and size and placement shapes.